Let me introduce myself. My name is Heru. I come from Bandung. I live with my mother. This is my story, which happened in 2020 when I came from Bandung to Bogor to come to work at a villa at the top. The journey from Bandung to Bogor took approximately 6 to 7 hours. Because of the traffic jam, even though my mother didn't allow me to go to Bogor because my mother lived alone at home, but I still went to accept the job offer. I left Bandung at around 4 in the afternoon after Asr and arrived at the peak at around 9. At night, why did I leave late in the afternoon? Because I got news from work at around 2 in the afternoon, so it was very sudden because I was afraid of being rushed into the night, so I quickly left the house at 4 in the afternoon so I wouldn't get there late at night.
Oh, that S what Rada said. I also want to go to the top. That means our goal is high school. I left Bandung for the terminal, about 30 minutes from home to the terminal. When I arrived at the terminal, unfortunately, I immediately got on the bus, and the bus left at empty afternoon. Suddenly, I fell asleep on the way. When I woke up, there was a woman sitting next to me, maybe 27 years old. I didn't know where the woman came from. She was already next to me, and I was shocked to see someone next to me. She just turned and smiled at me with a pale, stiff face, long hair. Then I asked her and kept quiet. She just smiled stiff. A few minutes later, he asked me, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "I want to go to the top."
Oh yes, I said. Get to know me first. My name is Rati. Where do you think Rati is going alone at night? Oh yes. Do you know my name? Heru. There is a job call at Puncak guarding the villa, Rati said. Where is the peak? I answered. Behind the restaurant. Rati said. It's really close to Rati's house. What's the name of the villa? Ooh, oh yes. I said. Get to know each other first. My name is Rati. Rati is going to go. Where at night? I answered. Behind the restaurant. Rati said. It's really close to Rati's house. What's the name of the villa? Villa Angrik. Mr. Agus. Ooh, Mr. Agus.
Oh, that S what Rada said. I also want to go to the top. That means our goal is high school. I left Bandung for the terminal, about 30 minutes from home to the terminal. When I arrived at the terminal, unfortunately, I immediately got on the bus, and the bus left at empty afternoon. Suddenly, I fell asleep on the way. When I woke up, there was a woman sitting next to me, maybe 27 years old. I didn't know where the woman came from. She was already next to me, and I was shocked to see someone next to me. She just turned and smiled at me with a pale, stiff face, long hair. Then I asked her and kept quiet. She just smiled stiff. A few minutes later, he asked me, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "I want to go to the top." With my house almost at the end of 2 houses, about an hour before we reached our destination, Rada got off at a shop. She said goodbye to me and just sent greetings to Mr. Agus to come down, because there were people who came down at the same time. Rada too, I'm also close to Java. Why are you getting off here? It's still a long way. I have something to do with my friends. Near here, yes. Be careful when I get off, I said. He got off at a stall. When I got off, I looked back, and he wasn't there. I ignored him. I just thought positively. Maybe he went into that quiet shop. When I reached my destination, I looked around on the bus, and it turned out it was deserted. There was only one person left. No one. There was only one passenger. There was only the driver. When I looked at the bus, it turned out that there were already a lot of people in it. Everyone's faces on the bus were scary. Right when I looked at me, I immediately turned my face to the road. Because I was scared and shaking, there I was. I was immediately shocked and fell silent while chatting with Mr. Agus so that he could pick me up quickly. Because there was no reply from Pa Agus, I called called Pa scared, like seeing a devil. I answered, "No, sir, I'm just tired." "Oh, I thought you saw the devil. We went to the villa he was staying at for me to work there, and I forgot about the incident that I had experienced. Because I was speeding on the road and I told Mr. Agus to tell me. Mr. Agus said to me, 'Okay, just rest first.' I went to the bedroom without taking a shower first. Instead, I went straight to sleep because I was tired and the atmosphere at the top was so cold that I was too lazy to take a shower. I fell asleep. I was in that room. Suddenly, when I was sleeping, there was someone whispering in my ear. Someone called me several times. Then I woke up startled because there was a whisper calling me. I immediately fell silent and then went to see Pa Agus, the living room. The next day, Mr. Agus and I chatted for a while in the living room about what I was working on at Mr. Agos's villa, because Mr. Agus wanted to go out of town this weekend. So Mr. Agus told me that Mr. Agus wanted to go out city for a few days, so I stayed alone in that villa. "Oh yes, are you? So you look after yourself here and take good care of it. Are you? Maybe I'll be out of town for 3 days. Oh, yes, sir. Later, if there is anything, just call." "Yes," I answered. "Yes, sir, okay." Even though I don't feel comfortable living alone in a villa, what else can I do? I need this work. Well, at least help my parents a little. Villagers. He died in Sunday evening Monday, and the burial will be on Monday afternoon. Stories from his neighbors that he had an accident due to a series of collisions in front of the Bogger Peak Monument when the brakes failed, so that in front of him there were several motorbikes in front of him, so there was a series of collisions. And I also ignored the accident, because at the time of the accident I was sleeping inside. So what happened was that the tragedy was a bus accident, the brakes failed, and I went back to cleaning the room next to the cemetery while looking at the funeral that had an accident, and in the afternoon I finished cleaning up the house. It's messy and dirty because Mr. Agus rarely visits the villa because his family is in Jakarta, so Mr. Agus is only at the villa when he is resting and there is work here. He is only renting out this villa. But there are people who are on vacation at Puncak because of the pandemic. It's really bad, so the villa is empty. Rarely anyone rents it, and usually at dusk there is knocking on the door, but when I open it there is no one. I also think it might be kids.
Or for fun. It just right the second time. I was still in high school. I ignored him. Because Mr. Agus was in the bathroom, so I heard a faint sound from Mr. Agus. After finishing the shower, Mr. Agus asked me, "How come?" It seemed like someone was running Peter. The door was running. Yes, sir, there was, but look, there are people. Maybe it's just some random kids who are renting out units. Oh, that's what Paragos said. Because Paragos has to go out of town tonight, so he's in a hurry because he got a call from his boss. He has to come tonight because he has a meeting tomorrow. He has to leave in 3 days, so Agus has to go tonight. Go. Mr. Agus tonight at 7 o'clock. Everything is starting to feel quiet. It feels like a graveyard, even though it's busy in front of the house. Inside the villa it feels very quiet and cold. At around 9 p.m. there is another knock on the door. When I opened it, it turned out to be Ratty, and I also welcomed him. There was Rat, because I didn't know if Ratty was dead, so I chatted as best I could, and asked Mr. Agus too, because I hadn't seen him for a long time. And Ratty just told me that he had worked with me too. Agus at this villa too, and Mr. Agus also doesn't know that Ratty Rita died this afternoon and was buried at his grave this afternoon. And Ratty also left a message when he came looking for Mr. Agus, because Pa Agus had just gone out of town, so I'll let you. When the clock showed 11 p.m. Ratty said goodbye to go home, and I dropped her off at the door. Without any suspicion, she immediately went back to the room to go to bed and sit there. When I was sleeping I dreamed that I met Ratty, she was talking to me. Please find something. I have something missing. Please. If Judah finds it, check in with my family. Then Mr. Ghost will tell me my home address. Then I will ask what is missing. He said. Ratty answered. Then you will know what it is. It's lost. Later please look for it under the bar of the restaurant, near the one I got off the bus from yesterday. Answered yes. I said, it was in a dream. And the dream repeated itself every night, and I was confused. And a few days later Mr. Ghost came from out of town, and I, too, wanted to ask him later when Mr. Ghost was relaxing in the living room, and at night. I also asked. I went to Mr. Ghost, Mr. Canal, whose name is Ratty, who used to work at your high school. Oh yes, Canal, why is that? He asked Dad for a few days. He said, I haven't seen him for a long time. I just want to tell Rami, oh like that, and he left. Mr. Ghost went to the kitchen to get coffee. When I remembered it, I realized that on my way out of town yesterday, Mr. Ghost called Ratty's family on the phone, that Ratty had died when Mr. Ghost left. He was very shocked when he heard the news, and Mr. Ghost also told him that Ratty had died in an accident. When you came here, it happened at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I was also told by the family, while I was on my way, and that's when I was shocked to hear that, because after the accident, I told Paragos. I met Ratty on the bus. I even had time to chat, and I also know Mr. Agos. I forgot to tell you, if anyone says hello to you. Because I was on the bus that night, I saw that there were lots of passengers on the bus, even though when I was still on the bus it was still empty. When I got off I looked at the bus again. I was scared to see and felt that there was something strange in the bus. And for the past few days also, since my father was out of town, I was visited by Ratty and asked for my father. And every night I always dreamed of being visited by Ratty. She asked me to look for her lost things, starting from there. I was scared and shocked when I heard the news from Mr. Agos that Ratty died in an accident. The next day, Mr. Agos and his family came to the scene of the incident, and suddenly what I found on the road near the restaurant, it turned out to be Ratty's finger, which was left near the shop, near the accident. Why didn't his family know? Because Ratty's body had been cremated and kept in the hospital, so no one in her family knew, and no one from the hospital even told her. There, all the stories of my experiences during in Bogor, and the dreams didn't come back, because I had finished Ratty's message, right, and the dream Ratty just said thank you with a smile.